G'day Internet, welcome back to another video. Now, if you remember last year, year before, I built that massive, huge arcade machine, which I loved building. But it actually has lived the last 2 years, whatever it's been, in the tea room at work, being thoroughly enjoyed for the simple fact that, well, I don't have room for it here. But I still wanted to have some kind of at least arcadey experience, even if that is just down to the good old-fashioned joystick and buttons. So just recently I was in JCar, as you do, poking around, and they had this. A box. No. Inside here should be a kind of control deck that takes a Raspberry Pi. So what my plan is to take this, stick a Pi in it, spark up Retropie or something along those lines, so this can be my kind of at-home arcade machine. And the upshot of this is I can plug it in wherever there's a HDMI television, be that in the lounge room, out here, friend's place, maybe somewhere else at work, that kind of thing. So let's have a look. So this is obviously just a random Chinese import, which doesn't really surprise me from JCar. A lot of their stuff is like that, but the upshot is that JCar do tend to at least try and be a bit picky when it comes to the stuff they choose to import. And I suppose the other thing is if this is rubbish, I've got somewhere local and retail to take it back to. So on the box we have high definition home game machine, professional design and reliable quality. Okay, professional design, reliable quality. I think we've heard that somewhere before. Flexible configuration, obviously because it takes a Raspberry Pi. Awards and exclusive, sure. Comprehensive roadmap, global recognized rapid service technical support. Okay, probably not from the original manufacturer, but at least some of these things I could kind of at least put back to JCar, I suppose, if I wanted to. But let's take a look inside the actual box and see what we get. Okay, now I've legitimately not been inside this, so let's see how we go. Okay, we get a couple of button covers, what seems to be a USB-C adapter and is that micro HDMI? Micro HDMI, I suppose if you decide to use, well, if you're using a Pi 4, you're going to need it, aren't you? Yep. And a generic screwdriver. That's a nice little inclusion. This seems to be a USB A to A cable. I guess we'll find out what that's for. A reasonably long HDMI cable. It's a flat one. Okay, sure. I may not use that. I may use something else. Power supply rated at 12 volts DC, 3 amps. And if we take this off, here's our joystick set. And what's the best way of picking this out? Right, box out of the way, quickly. There we go. There is our... Doesn't feel too bad. I mean, they're obviously just cheap generic buttons. We're not talking genuine Sanwa here, but I felt worse, that's for sure. Now, one thing that is distinctly missing from all this is any instructions, so I guess we're going to be winging it to a degree. So along the top we seem to have all our buttons and the joysticks and stuff, which Well, the cable management's not horrible, I'll give it that. Everything seems to terminate to this, which, given it, I'm guessing that's 40 pins, probably plugs straight into the GPIO on a Raspberry Pi. Although it has this 2-pin lead off, which is being red and black, you would think is power, maybe, and no idea where that goes. So in here we seem to have a DC to DC converter with various outputs, 5 volt, etc., and 12 volt in and 5 volt out. I'm not sure why would you do this and not just have 5 volt coming into the machine. Anyway, this has got, that's micro USB, hence the adapter if you're using a Pi 4, which is what I will be using, and a panel mount HDMI, which all goes back to a barrel plug here and a switch. Well, I guess while we've got the thing open, we might as well put our Pi in. Looks like there's 4 existing screws. Pi goes there. Is it going to line up? It does. With our various little adapters, I've got, where is it? That way. We can put in USB-C for power and our HDMI. Which by rights should go into HDMI. Oh yeah, there's room. Just a bit of a wonky angle, but it fits. Right, remember I said a minute ago how this didn't have any instructions? Well, good thing I checked JCar's website, because they do, and that goes that way. This has got like a notch on it, a bit like a floppy drive or whatever, and that goes to the inside of the Pi like that. So that should be everything plugged in. Okay, so now that we've actually got the Pi in our arcade stick thing, what am I going to call this? Control deck, arcade, whatever. We need to put Retropie onto an SD card. And this is, pretty simple. So let's quickly take care of it. Right, I've got a 128 gig SD card in my laptop and Raspberry Pi OS installer. And they've made this really simple. So choose OS, scroll down to, where is it, emulation and game, Retropie, and choose the Retropie, the 400 one, because obviously that's the Raspberry Pi /400 one, because that's what I've got in there. Choose storage. It's only probably going to come up with my SD card. It does. And right. And now we wait. And with that done, I should be able to pop my micro SD into the Pi. There we go. Okay, so I've got power and HDMI plugged in. You'll also notice that I have a USB keyboard plugged in because I'm obviously going to need to set up the Wi-Fi on it. Now, let me be clear that there is 101 different ways you can set up a Raspberry Pi or Retropie or whatever we're talking about, but this is simply the way I'm going to do it. But in theory, I should be able to turn on our monitor and turn this on. And we've got nothing. Oh, we've got a cursor. There we go, now it's booting. That kind of poor fitment between the micro HDMI converter and the USB-C is not amazing. And Retropie is booting. So this is the bit we now need to do. There's 2 things. One is I need to connect to the Wi-Fi, and the second thing is I need to install the little bit of software that runs these buttons and joysticks from the GPIO ports versus, say, a USB joystick. So if we go F4, we're dropped to a command prompt. And from here, I'm simply going to go sudo raspi-config, and we're going to set up our Wi-Fi. If we go into system options, wireless LAN, let's set it for Australia, because that's where I am. Right, let's stick in my SSID and my WPA key, and it needs to reboot to connect to the Wi-Fi. Now, I'm actually going to link down below the instructions to do this, and I'll also put the commands that I'm doing down here, but I'm just going to switch to super user, so sudo su. Right, apt update. Because of my slow Wi-Fi out here, this is going to take a minute. Right, so we should be able to go apt install git python 3 -dev. Do I want to continue? Yes. Right, so basically I got the shits with the Wi-Fi out in the garage. Welcome back to my office. You have not seen this for a long time. Anyway, let's keep going. Right, so we got up to installing Git and Python 3. Hey look, it actually all works now. Okay, so now we've got Git installed. We want to go git clone mhol/GPIO next.git. Okay, that was fairly simple. CD to that directory, ls, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Chmod, so change mod plus X to everything, and that should make everything executable. And I should be able to go /install.sh. Would I like to run the configuration manager? Sure. Okay, this is going to ask me to set up some joypads. Okay, joypad 1. Right, how many D-pad joysticks does this controller have? 1, I guess. We do one side and then the other. Okay, so we want a, what? Start, select, A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. We don't have any triggers. Sure. Okay, hold up, down, left, right, start, I'll make coin, select. What order do I want these in? Actually, it probably doesn't matter because we're going to have to reconfigure all of this in Emulation Station anyway. Saving configuration, exit. Okay, we're good. I should be able to reboot this into Retropie and actually get on with setting it up. Okay, 2 gamepads detected. Hold A button on your device to configure it. Sure. Okay, up, down, left, right, start, select. So, okay, east, south, let's make that left, right. Emulation station crashed. Great. And it just rebooted. Okay, well, we seem to be back up. Okay, let's do the other one. Up, down, left, right, start, select. All right, so now that we've got controllers set up, I need to be able to get ROMs onto this thing. Now, again, there is a whole stack of different ways you can do this. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to connect this to my NAS via, I point up there because it's on a shelf up there, via SMB, and then probably use something like Midnight Commander to drag them all across. So let me show you how I do that. Let's just start by going Control-Alt-F4, and that will bring up a new prompt. And I believe I need to go sudo, I'm just going to go sudo su, also spell it right, sudo su apt install cifs-utils. Okay, now I should be able to go mkdir, I'm just going to call it NAS, and it should be mount -t cifs -o user equals, this is my user on the NAS, equals lurch, and it should be //ready nas/data, and I want to mount it to ~nas. Whoops, okay, sorry, that needs to be home pi NAS, because I'm doing it as root. Could not roll. Okay, we can make that easy. I can simply put in the IP address 192.168.1. Oh shit, 100, 120. 20.120 password, and I think that's worked. CD, CD NAS ls, and there is everything that is on my NAS. So apt install MC. MC's already installed, good. I think I should probably do this as pi and not as root, so let's go MC, and we should be able to go NAS. Where's all my ROMs? Why is it done in such a weird order? Right, ROMs. Now I've got to try and remember what I've put everything. I haven't done this for a while. MAME, I think. That looks like a whole bunch of .zip files, which are probably MAME. Right, so tab across to the other side. What is it? Retropie, ROMs, MAME 2003, I think. Right, tab back, Control A, Control Shift equals, asterisk go, tab across to the other side and go F5 for copy, F5, I want to copy to there, right, go. That's going to take a while. Right, so I've copied all that across and a few other bits and pieces. I now should be able to exit out of this, reboot, and Retropie should pick up all the ROMs I just copied across. Aha! Right, so for instance, I should be able to go to MAME, and look at all the games. let's just jump to, where are we, S, because we all know what I'm going to spark up. Okay. Enter a bunch of coins, start. Because I'm cheap, I always go blanker. So I finished off ROMs and all that kind of stuff. So there's arcade, there's some 16-bit stuff on there that we'll get to in a bit. I tweaked the buttons and then I kind of spent hours scraping all the artwork from the internet so it now looks good. If you're wondering where I am, I'm in my lounge room because I kind of figured, well, I've built this nice arcade deck. It's emulated, so it's got HDMI. Why not plug it into the biggest screen in the house? And we're ready to rock and roll. Now, that's all well and good, and playing arcade games on the huge screen is awesome, but it's so much better when you have a second player. So I phoned a friend.
G'day, mate.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Just kick the table.
I know.
All right.
Keep rolling.
Yep, that's fine. So Mark travelled the whopping 10 minutes to come over here to play some arcade games. This is what I made. What do you think?
Looks pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, look, bolting it together took whopping like 10 minutes or so. The Retropie side of it, that was a little different.
Yeah, that's all right.
So yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Shall we play some games?
Let's do it.
Right, we'll start with some Final Fight.
Sure.
Righto.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life, I never miss that fact, taking big swings, jam to the bat, put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag, cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light, ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel, I took a red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real, but how's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to...
So we played some games. We've been accompanied by Angus. Say hello, Angus. He's growling. So, yeah, I mean, Final Fight was good. We got our ass handed to us in some NBA Jam because we could never remember what the buttons were.
We're just a little rusty, that's all.
That's fine. And some Mega Drive Streets of Rage, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely a good port.
I think a bit later on we might play some Ninja Turtles arcade, but we're gonna play the Mega Drive version because I think that is superior. That's just me.
Yeah, I'm not touching that one.
But what do you think of this as a whole?
Looks pretty cool. I do like the nice clicky buttons. It does have a good feel to it.
Yep.
It's solid.
It's solid. Well, it's all metal, and it's actually one of the main reasons why the Wi-Fi on the Raspberry Pi is terrible, because, well, basically it's in a Faraday cage, right? One thing we did find is that there is... You're gonna get off? All right, you can get off. There is a little bit of lag, actually, it's actually noticeable with the buttons and using that GPIO Next software. So I think there's a couple of things I want to change on this machine. One is that I think I want to convert this to 2 USB controllers using the little boards. They're the ones that I put in my big arcade machine. And I found I had like 0 lag. So I think that's one thing. The other thing I'm not a big fan of is just the plain white buttons. I think they definitely need changing.
Yeah, we need some colour in this. It's all just too white.
It is.
It's like a Donald Trump party.
That's terrible. The white start and select buttons, they're fine. The knobs, they should be black, and the buttons, I think, should be red and blue. That's just the way I always think about it.
I'd do that.
Yeah.
Maybe some LEDs.
Yeah, maybe the illuminated ones.
Yeah, might be cool.
Yeah, I might put the illuminated buttons
You know
in.
what I really like? The little, people symbols on the start buttons.
I think you can buy.
2.
Yeah, I think you can buy them. I think that'd work.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's some future plans for it. But we've had a fun little afternoon playing some games.
Yeah. What's the time?
Yeah. So yeah.
I think you've done well.
Thank you. So that will pretty much do us. If you liked the video, like, subscribe, all the usual YouTubey stuff. As always, a massive shout out to my Patreons who are scrolling up the screen as I speak, probably over Mark's face. And if you'd like to help support the channel, there is a link in the description. But until then, I'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.